She discovered the truth: the lonely customer she helped turned out to be the hotel owner. Emma felt the weight of the world as she ambled through the diner's swinging doors, her apron strings tied tightly, a makeshift armor against her swirling thoughts. Each day was a test of will, a marathon of shifts that left her bones aching and her heart weary. Jake deserved more. She knew that, yet the dim lights of the diner felt more like shadows creeping in closer. And there in the corner, Mr. Hargrove sat, nursing a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. He became a fixture of her days, a living reminder of her own struggles, yet today, something felt off. She approached him, a habitual smile stuck on her face. "Good morning, Mr. Hargrove. How about a fresh cup?" His gaze barely flickered toward her, a sigh escaped his lips as he stared out the window. "Just coffee for now, Emma." His voice was softer than butter, yet brimming with unseen storm clouds. She could see it in his eyes, liquid sorrow trapped beneath a varnish of indifference. Daily work banter echoed around her, laughter blending seamlessly under the diner's hum. But Emma felt an invisible barrier, like glass separating her from the warmth she so desperately needed. Would they understand her struggle? Could they even look beyond the bright smile she wore like armor? As she refilled Mr. Hargrove's coffee, she wrestled with thoughts of her own choices, her relentless effort to shield Jake from their financial concerns. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned to weeks, each shift melding into the next. Mr. Hargrove and Emma began exchanging snippets of life threaded with encouragement and remorse, two souls navigating turbulent waters. He revealed bits of his past, a titan of the hotel world, now adrift in this tiny town, cradling regret like a comforting blanket. Emma's heart ached for him, yet as their friendship grew, a disquieting knot of uncertainty tightened in her chest. To befriend a man of his stature, a man whose decisions shaped her own life, was intoxicating yet terrifying. But as the diner faced closure, the stakes soared. Emma proposed events to draw in customers, convinced they could infuse life back into the establishment. Mr. Hargrove reluctantly agreed. She felt the embers of hope flicker between them, yet as her excitement spiked, her unease deeper. What lurked in Hargrove's past, whispered through secrets and burdens he wore like chains. Then came the shattering truth: he was the owner, the man who created the Grand Hotel, the very foundation of stability that cradled their town. Emma's world spun. How could she reconcile the loyalty owed to the man who had lived a life of luxury, while she struggled daily in her two jobs just to put food on the table for Jake? Every question felt like a knife, wedging deeper into her chest. Could she continue helping him, knowing the distance his wealth created, how it underscored the stark divide between their lives? Torn between anger and empathy, Emma stared into her hands, her mind racing. She was on a precipice. Every move she made could tip her into an abyss or ignite the spark of redemption. The diner was alive with chatter, but she felt isolated, teetering on the edge of a choice that threatened to unravel everything. Would she confront him about his abandonment of dreams, risking the fragile bond they built? Or would she clutch tightly to her own aspirations and drive him away, compelling her to pick between the legacy he feared and the future she desperately wanted for Jake? Time slipped through her fingers, urgency coiling around her heart like a vice. The decisions ahead seemed insurmountable, and she knew one thing: the clock was ticking, and the diner was hanging by a thread. Emma stood still behind the counter, her back against the cool metal of the coffee machine, a transient sanctuary from the chaos unfolding around her. The sounds of clinking plates and murmured conversations faded. Instead, her pulse thudded in her ears, drowning out the world as she wrestled with the implications of Mr. Hargrove's truth. He was no ordinary diner patron, he was the very architect of her town's economic bedrock. This revelation altered the dynamics of everything. How had she not seen it before? The kindness behind his tired eyes, the wistful glances toward the empty spaces in the diner, was it sympathy or perhaps something deeper? As she wiped down the counter, Emma's thoughts raced. She had been helping the owner of the hotel that employed most of her friends and family, drawing on resources that had made her own burdens feel lighter, but now everything felt like a mirage. What did he truly believe in? Did he view her struggles as trivial compared to the weight he bore from his failures? With a resolve she didn't know she had, Emma decided she couldn't shy away from confronting the man who had shifted so abruptly within her life's tapestry. She couldn't just serve him coffee and banter, she needed clarity. What had he done to resolve the regrets that clung to him like shadows? And what still lay in store for her and Jake if she played along as if nothing had changed? Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself as she walked back to Mr. Hargrove's table, where he sat silently staring out the window. The mid-morning sun illuminated the lines etched across his forehead, but today there was something more, an air of uncertainty that mirrored her own. "Mr. Hargrove," she began, her voice steadier than she felt, "can we talk about this diner, about you?" His gaze shifted to meet hers, confusion and resignation mingling in his expression. "You know it won't be easy, right? What you've built here, the legacy. It's all at stake." He sighed, the weight of his past palpable in the silence between them. "I thought I could hide behind the coffee and the routine, Emma. Trust me, I didn't want you to find out this way. Yet here we are. We've both been struggling, each in our own narrative, tethered by something greater." Emma felt the pressure of honesty pushing through her facade. "If we don't address this, I fear we risk losing everything." For a moment, the air was thick with unsaid truths. Would they even be able to move forward, torn between their different realities? She wanted to bridge the chasm that had widened with his revelation, but guilt clawed at her, guilt for wanting more, guilt for thinking he could be anything but a wealthy man lost at sea. Creating events in the diner, it was more than just about saving this place for me. I believed in something real, something we could build together. But now it feels tainted. Emma kept her voice steady, her heart racing as if bungee jumping on thoughts. He leaned in, his eyes searching hers. "I believed I was beyond needing help. I was wrong. But if you are willing to fight for this diner, perhaps we both can find a way." There it was, a faint glimmer of aligned purpose, yet the uncertainty hung heavily between them. Emma's heart raced as she considered the path ahead. Could she truly commit to partnering with the man whose failures might still echo loudly in her own life's narrative? Was she prepared to face the man who held every key to their town's destiny? As she turned her gaze from his intense stare, the diner's bustling noise returned, its desperation echoing in her heart. Emma stood, caught in the crosshairs of ambition and the weight of hidden dreams, formulating a plan. "I want to try," she finally whispered, "but we can't just rush into this without confronting your past. The hotel's standing could provide us with so much, but only if you truly embrace it." The look that passed between them, a pact, a calling to action, was tangible. Yet, in the depths of her mind, doubts flickered like shadows refusing to be banished. The moment teetered on the edge, much like their futures. Then it settled. "We'll face everything together, but understand this, Emma. It's going to be messy and might test everything we believe." She nodded, the thrill of possibility igniting a fire within her. Yet one question loomed large: would their combined strengths be like flint against steel or simply lead to a misfire? With the stakes now clearly laid out, the diner's fate intertwined with their choices, Emma's heart raced as she made her way back to the kitchen. Together, they stood at the precipice of change, the air electric with urgency. But as the clock ticked along, Emma wondered, was this the beginning of their redemption, or merely the gateway to deeper challenges? Time would tell, but she could almost hear its restless ticking, pulling her toward an inevitable confrontation. The next few days in the diner felt like a meticulous dance on a tightrope, with Emma and Mr. Hargrove trying to maintain balance in their collaboration while navigating the complicated landscape of shared ambitions and hidden fears. Each morning, as Emma brewed fresh coffee and served pancakes to families caught in their weekend rituals, her mind churned with every word they had exchanged, replaying their conversation as if the very air between them crackled with unformed possibilities. In quiet moments, she would catch glimpses of Mr. Hargrove deep in thought, often lost in the tantalizing aroma of brewing coffee, staring out at the street as if it held the answers to questions neither could articulate. Emma's apprehension took root, feeding a bold yet anxious determination she couldn't shake off. She needed to delve deeper into what lay beneath the surface, confronting not only Hargrove's past but her role as a budding leader. Ambitious and possessive of her vision for the diner, Emma found herself waking early, sketching plans on faded napkins, strategizing on how to incorporate some of the hotel's charm into their all-too-often mundane eatery. A fusion of old diner warmth with a touch of hospitality, this realization invigorated her. The idea sprouted from a flame of desperation but quickly transformed into a vision crafted with the careful intentions of an artist. Yet, with each stroke of creativity, doubt began to seep in. Could she truly orchestrate this transformation? The thought clawed at her. Her inexperience had always loomed large in her mind, but under the growing burden of potential partnership with Hargrove, it began to feel monstrous. Regulars drifted in, oblivious to her inner turmoil, every laugh, every fleeting moment felt pungent with the weight of unproven dreams. One afternoon, just as the diner hit its stride with the lunch rush, she managed to corner Mr. Hargrove in the back. "We need to have a meeting," she asserted, a tone of urgency underscoring her words. "I want to discuss our first steps. Together, we can redefine this place." He raised an eyebrow, the shadows of his past flickering in his eyes like ghosts reluctant to leave. "Are you sure? What makes you think we're ready? You saw how people reacted when I took charge before. My failures are not just behind me, they haunt this diner." Emma crossed her arms, feeling the steel of her resolve coil tightly around her spine. "If we don't confront your past, nothing will change. Let us face it together. You have resources, experience, a legacy. I have my vision and the heartbeat of this place." Mr. Hargrove's scrunching brow showed the cracks in his composed demeanor. "And where do you see yourself in all this? What if it doesn't work out?" Her heart pounded, the skin on her arms prickled with exhilaration. "What if it does? I want to stand back and just watch you reinvent your narrative without pushing forward myself. I want more than what was handed down to me, I want to carve my own path, and this diner, our efforts could be the start of that journey." In that moment, a flicker of understanding passed between them. Hargrove's hesitation seemed to wane as the truth in her words settled, and he began to nod, albeit slowly. For the first time, she saw a glimmer of hope ignite in his gaze. They were not merely operators in this diner, they could be its saviors. With determined fervor, they brainstormed over steaming mugs, fraying napkins, and the comforting sounds of an array of sizzling food, bursts of laughter coming and going. Her creativity stirred something within him, a reminder of the excitement that once accompanied his own entrepreneurial dreams. As clarity began to take shape amidst the chaos in her heart, Emma realized she wasn't just fighting for the diner. She was claiming her voice and stepping into her own inescapable destiny, a narrative no longer shadowed by fear. Yet, lurking on the fringes of her resolve were the remnants of Mr. Hargrove's faltering steps. Minutes turned into hours. The plans took root, but the specter of past failures lingered. Like a fog, tainting their otherwise exhilarating brainstorming session. What would happen when challenges rose, as they undoubtedly would? Would they falter again, or could resilience pave their way? As evening descended, Emma straightened her back and smiled at her reflection in the window. For once, she saw potential beyond the ordinary. Her quiet confidence was beginning to awaken. But deep within, a nagging suspicion seethed. Would Hargrove's ghosts rise from the depths and threaten the very foundation they were attempting to build? Tomorrow would be pivotal, but uncertainty loomed ominously on the horizon. Emma stood at the threshold of her newly forged path, breath held, waiting to see whether the nascent ember of hope would ignite into a fire of transformation or flicker out, leaving her adrift once more. The morning sun bathed the diner in a warm glow, spilling light over checkered floors and pastel-colored booths. Emma felt a sense of heightened anticipation as she brewed the morning pot of coffee, each steam-laden breath filling her with resolve. Today, the burden of doubt clung more tenaciously, but she refused to let it diminish her spirit. She had a plan, a vision that danced just out of reach. Fueled by the success of their brainstorming session with Mr. Hargrove, she considered their discussions as she prepared for the day's rush. New ideas for the menu swirled in her mind, intertwining flavors reminiscent of grander establishments, yet infused with the soul of the diner. As the bell above the door chimed, signaling the first customers of the day, her focus sharpened. Each order was an opportunity. Each conversation was a chance for connection. She studied patrons with newfound attentiveness, not merely as customers but as potential allies for her vision. Were they seeking comfort food, or something more extravagant? What stories of their own might they share? In these moments, she discovered that listening could be just as powerful as serving. The morning rush felt electric, a buzzing multiphase current in which each interaction resonated with possibility. Emma seized the moment to engage with patrons, initiating conversations that transcended the typical small talk. A couple at the corner booth shared tales of their travels, their laughter mingling with the clatter of silverware. An older gentleman, a regular known for his solitary breakfasts, began to open up. He confessed that the diner was his safe haven, a place where he felt seen, even in silence. Unbeknownst to her, this customer had a keen interest in the diner's potential. Emma didn't recognize him as anything other than a kind soul navigating his own solitude. But today, anything felt possible in her impressionable state. Inspired by her own conversation, she lingered, hoping to learn something unexpected. "What keeps you coming back here?" she asked, keen to draw out any insight that might aid her dream. His eyes twinkled, and he took a thoughtful sip from his steaming cup. "Sometimes, we find ourselves in familiar spaces to escape the chaos outside. You're shaping a narrative here, aren't you? Reminds me of my days in hospitality. I'd say the heart of a place like this is in the connections we create." Emma felt a flicker of recognition at his words. Could she really be shaping something bigger than pancakes and coffee? She considered their conversation, feeling the weight of her responsibility as she expanded her vision. This diner could be a refuge for many, not just a stop for breakfast. As the bustle subsided, Emma eagerly sought out Mr. Hargrove in the back, buoyed by the interactions she initiated. She shared her experiences, eager to discuss how they could infuse their plans with this newfound sense of belonging and community. However, the furrow in his brow gave her pause. What solidifies these connections? He mused. You're right, of course, there's potential here, but how do we ensure it endures? Let us not forget my track record. His voice carried uncertainty, as if he recognized the fragile nature of the transformations they sought. Emma pushed against her instincts to yield. We build a foundation that can withstand the storms, Alex. We embrace hospitality and innovation together. Let us not shy away from what we can create. But doubt lingered in the spaces between her words. Would her determination to redefine this space also draw out the shadows of failure that Hargrove wrestled with? Just as they cornered the specifics of their plans, the bell chimed again, and a figure stepped in, casting a long shadow into the sun-soaked diner. The man wore a crisp suit, his presence disruptively sharp against the backdrop of warm pastels. Emma's heart raced. Could he be the hotel owner everyone had long whispered about? Sweat trickled down her spine. Would this unexpected guest bring opportunities or unravel the fragile web they were beginning to weave? As the man approached the counter with intent, uncertainty gripped Emma once more. It reminded her that amidst every potential triumph lurked challenges capable of upending even the most ambitious plans. Would he be an ally or an obstacle to her newly discovered path? Resolved to face whatever came next, she squared her shoulders, ready to confront this new twist in her journey. The moment felt monumental. But with every heartbeat, she couldn't shake the feeling that today was merely the prelude to an even greater revelation. Emma's breath caught in her throat as the man approached. His sharp suit contrasted with the relaxed, homey vibe of the diner, driving home the sudden tension in the air. She felt the weight of her ambitions pressing down. This could be the moment that changes everything or the point where it all crumbled. "Good morning," he said, his voice smooth and confident. "I hear you're making some waves here." She noticed the way his gaze darted around the diner, critical yet curious. Part of her wanted to shrink away from the scrutiny, but her resolve pressed her to stand tall. "Yes, we've been working on some new ideas," she replied, striving to match his poise. This was not the time for self-doubt. The weight of Alex Hargrove's uncertainty echoed in her mind, but perhaps he was not the only one whose opinion mattered. Maybe this was an opportunity to forge a connection with someone who could influence the diner's future. "Emma, right?" he continued, tilting his head as if assessing her. "I'm Mark Thompson. I own the Thompson Hotel down the road. I've been meaning to drop by and see what you're up to. The rumors of a renaissance are definitely circulating." Her heart raced. This was the person whom many thought would be critical to their success or ruin. "I appreciate that you stopped by," she managed, feeling the tremors of her pulse quicken. "I've always believed that dining is more than just eating, it's about experience, connection. Let us hear what you envision for this place," he said. This was her chance, a door she dared to push open. Taking a deep breath, she began to share her thoughts about transforming the diner into a community hub. As she spoke, she felt a surge of momentum, excitement spilling into each idea. She could see glimmers of interest in his eyes as she painted the picture of interactive themes, menu innovations, and a dining experience where patrons could find understanding and connection, much like the older gentleman had described earlier. Mark leaned in closer. "And how do you plan to keep that connection alive, especially when the pressures of business set in? It's not easy to maintain authenticity under financial stress." Emma's heart sank at the reminder of potential failure. Her mind raced. She could feel the chasm of doubt widening, threatening to swallow her confidence. Yet, faltering now would mean abandoning the vision she fought so hard to build. "By staying engaged with our customers, by making them part of the story we create," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Yes, I know it's a risk, but I see so much that is possible here, a way to uplift people through food, to create memories." He studied her, and she could sense the weight of his judgment. Was he merely assessing her naivety? She thought about Alex's concerns. "But what if I'm wrong? What if my plans lead to disappointment?" "You take calculated risks, Emma," Mark replied, breaking into a slight smile. "You might just surprise yourself with what you're capable of." For a moment, the weight lifted as ambition sparked a shared energy between them. Suddenly, their dialogue was interrupted by the impatient sound of the kitchen staff in the background and the clinking of plates. Emma's thoughts shifted. Could she incorporate Mark's insights into her vision? "You've ignited some potential here," he said, his tone measured. "Why don't we talk further? I might be able to offer you some resources and guidance as you execute your ideas." Chills raced down Emma's arms. Could this be the breakthrough she had desperately needed? The conversation took a point beyond mere hope, it suddenly brimmed with tangible possibility. Could they truly align their visions for greater outcomes? Yet, the nagging feeling of doubt returned, whispering to her about the inherent chaos of new paths. How much could she trust this unexpected ally? "You have to keep the diner's spirit alive," Mark cautioned as he glanced at the bustling diner. "The essence is what sets you apart." Emma nodded, her mind a whirl of excitement tempered with caution. "I want to create something that honors this place and its patrons." "Then let us see what we can do together," Mark replied, his eyes flashing with interest. Just as she felt her nerves steadying, the door swung wide open once more, and in stepped Alex Hargrove. His eyes darted to her, an unreadable expression crossing his face. This could either be the door to opportunity or conflict. Emma squared her shoulders once again, knowing that whatever came next would demand every ounce of her grit and determination. Her ability to discern allies from adversaries would be tested in ways she couldn't anticipate. Would she rise and craft her desired reality, or would she buckle under external pressures? The moment of truth hovered menacingly on the horizon, ready to reveal the next challenge that awaited her. Emma's heart beat heavily in her chest as Alex approached. The air seemed to thicken with unspoken tension. Was this a moment of reckoning for her, or merely another trial to navigate? She braced herself, determined not to let doubt seep into her expression. "Alex," she greeted, forcing a smile. "I didn't expect to see you here today." Mark cast a curious glance between them, sensing the die at work. "You two know each other?" he asked, his words lightly laced with intrigue. "Of course," Alex replied, his tone casual but laced with that familiar undertone of superiority. "Emma is quite the visionary. I've been keeping an eye on her progress." Emma felt a flicker of annoyance at his condescending tone but quickly suppressed it. This was not about Alex, it was about the diner and her aspirations. "I was just discussing ideas with Mark for enhancing our experience here." Alex's gaze flicked back to Mark, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Is that right? You think that reinventing a classic diner will work?" Emma felt a sharp twist inside her. Why did he always have to come at her like that? "Yes," she said, more assertively. "I believe it can. There's a community waiting to embrace it, and I'm excited about exploring that." Mark shifted slightly, sensing the crackle of tension. "Emma has a lot of innovative concepts," he praised somewhat defensively. "It's about weaving a narrative that invites people in." "Isn't that right, Emma?" His support felt like a buoy amidst the crashing waves of her emotions. She nodded, emboldened by his endorsement. "Exactly. It's about creating a space that reflects our patrons' stories and experiences, and it can shift perceptions of what a diner can be." Alex's expression turned calculating. "Sure, but there are risks involved in that kind of transformation. Do you truly think the diner's integrity will hold with all those changes?" Emma took a breath, feeling the scrutiny from both men. "Risks, yes, but they can lead to growth. The diner has to evolve alongside our community. I can harness the right resources to maintain its essence." Her voice was steady now, reminiscent of the newfound confidence that had sparked with Mark's interest. Yet insecurity knit itself tightly in her mind, whispering doubts. Was all this bravado truly hers? Could she manage the expectations of both men watching her every move? Mark cleared his throat, breaking the tension. "What if we focus on the first steps? Maybe a pilot event to gauge community interest." "Pilot?" Alex scoffed, a mocking smirk on his lips. "You think a handful of events will suffice to justify a massive overhaul? You're idealistic, Emma." She felt bile rise in her throat, and yet beneath the rancor, a flicker of rage ignited. "And you think preserving the status quo is courageous?" She shot back, her voice rising involuntarily. "You fear change because it poses a threat to your control." Mark watched, a mix of admiration and concern on his face. Alex's demeanor hardened, but it only ignited Emma's determination. Thoughts of her vision, the families and friends she wanted to gather in the diner, replaced any urge to retreat. "Perhaps I'm not looking to control, I'm looking to inspire," she concluded, her tone now calm but firm. "If we don't innovate, we stagnate. I won't let your fear dictate the future I'm trying to carve out here." Alex studied her, an expression of surprise flickering across his face. He opened his mouth to respond, but Mark interjected. "Let us explore how to uplift this diner instead of diminishing it. Could you be open to re-evaluating your stance, Alex?" Emma's heart raced. Had she just shifted the momentum? The way forward felt slippery, yet the possibility of collaboration seemed tantalizing. She dared to imagine what it would be like, merging their strengths, balancing vision with practicality, and avoiding Alex's stagnation. As the discussion continued, Emma sensed the tides might finally be turning. However, the sensation of impending scrutiny loomed over her, challenging her every thought. With both men now seemingly focused on potential collaboration, a flicker of worry ignited deep within. Was it reckless to put her trust in men whose motives she could only partly understand? "Emma, you can't forget the stakes involved in this venture," Alex said eventually, shifting back to a central position, his authority still commanding. "Everyone brings their desires into this, including me." The way he spoke, demanding and yet almost seductive, sent chills down her spine. Did he want to mold her vision or integrate it into his agenda? Emma felt torn, caught between the allure of collaboration and the risk of losing her autonomy. With her heart racing, she needed to decide. Would she allow Alex's influence to coalesce with Mark's support, or would she take a stand for her own vision regardless of the consequences? The door swung open once again. The potential of who might step in brought a jolt to her system, the weight of her decisions looming larger than ever. The tension escalated. Emma was on the cusp of a discovery of herself, her vision, and the intricate game of trust she was forced to play. Would she be the architect of her diner's destiny, or simply a player in someone else's? With a sense of urgency tightening within her, Emma understood that reckoning was not far off. The unfinished chapters of her goals were still being written, each turn bringing her closer to an inevitable confrontation with herself and the stakes that lay ahead. Emma stood at the precipice of a decision, her mind racing through the implications of aligning with either Alex or Mark. Each man represented a different potential future, and yet both felt burdened with their own agendas. The ground felt unsteady beneath her feet, as if the very foundation of her dreams was built on shifting sands. With every second that passed, the tension thickened, forcing her to confront not just the dynamics of her partnership options but the implications for her identity. Who was she really? A passive participant in this struggle, or the active architect of her own ambitions? "Can we table this for a moment?" Mark suggested, his tone softer, yet carrying the weight of the moment. "Let us take a breather. Emma, why don't you share more about your vision? Make it more tangible for us." Emma's chest tightened. Could she articulate her concepts here under scrutiny, especially with Alex's skeptical gaze fixed upon her? Yet, this was her opportunity, a chance to align their thoughts with hers. The diner had always been more than a business for her. It was a sanctuary of stories, a canvas painted with the laughter of friends and the warmth of familiar faces. "You know, the diner has been a pillar in this community for decades," she began, her voice trembling slightly but gaining steadiness with every word. "It's about nostalgia but also evolution. I want to create an experience that reflects our patrons' lives. Think immersive storytelling, menu items that change based on the seasons, events that celebrate local talent. It's about making connections and inviting people back." Unsure of how they'd react, she paused, reading their expressions. Mark looked intrigued, a spark lighting behind his eyes, but Alex seemed unmoved, arms crossed defiantly. "Sounds charming, but who is going to fund all this heartwarming initiative?" Alex prompted, his voice laced with cynicism. Suddenly, frustration bubbled up again within Emma. Just because something doesn't fit into your box of traditional marketing doesn't make it impractical. "I'm aware of budget constraints and have a plan to phase things in, testing the waters while keeping costs manageable," she retorted, drawing strength from her earlier assertions. "This executable vision isn't just by chance. I've been studying customer behavior, exploring effective strategies to engage my audience. I can show potential backers that innovation earns dividends." Calm settled across her features, and the tremor in her voice ceased. Emma felt a new sense of self-confidence, bolstered by her own knowledge rather than the wavering approval of her counterparts. It was this realization that solidified her resolve. She didn't need Alex's validation or opinions to pursue her dreams. "Is that your plan really?" Alex questioned, narrowing his gaze. "Count on building community when it's easier to play safe?" Emma took a deep breath, ready to respond. "Safe doesn't mean sustainable, Alex. The world is changing and so must we. If I have to bear the weight of this alone, I will. But I wholeheartedly believe in this vision, and it deserves attention." As the word settled, a sense of clarity washed over her. She had far more resolve than she had given herself credit for in moments of doubt. Her passion, her drive. These were her greatest assets. I can present my proposal to potential stakeholders, break down budgets, and show feasibility, she continued, her tone unwavering. If you want to collaborate, then join me with that in mind. Otherwise, I'll forge my own path. I won't be deluded by anyone's fears. Instantly, Emma sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Mark appeared cautiously supportive, whereas Alex's cool demeanor faltered as he processed her boldness. It was a moment of vulnerability but also a profound awakening inside her, a hidden strength she hadn't fully recognized until now. "Let us see what else is out there then," Alex eventually conceded, though a slight edge remained in his voice. "You're incredibly naive if you think it'll be as simple as you propose." His words hung in the air like a challenge thrown at her feet. Naive? Perhaps. But chased by doubt, Emma realized she had to move forward regardless. Then the door swung open once more, slicing through the atmosphere. The figure that entered seemed to radiate an aura of authority, unexpected and captivating in the ambience of their exchange. Emma felt a mix of anticipation and dread. This could change everything. Emma's heart pounded anew, not from fear but from the thrill of possibility. She had uncovered a piece of herself she hadn't realized was buried. Deciding who to partner with hadn't just been about strategy, it was about what kind of leader she wished to become. "Who is that?" Mark whispered, casting a sideways glance, his expression blending intrigue and concern. Emma turned her focus to the newcomer, the weight of her choices swirling around her. Was this figure the catalyst for the collaboration she sought, or an entirely fresh challenge? Either way, one thing was certain: her journey of self-discovery was only beginning. The time had come for Emma to face not just her vision, but the unknown potentials lurking just beyond the diner doors. The apex of her burgeoning narrative awaited. Emma's breath caught as the figure stepped further into the diner, their presence commanding attention. The newcomer was impeccably dressed, exuding an air of confidence that felt like an electric current through the room. Emma's heart raced, fueled by a potent mix of hope and apprehension. This could be a chance she hadn't anticipated, a door opening to new opportunities. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Emma," the figure said, scanning the room until their gaze locked onto hers. There was something distinctly purposeful in their tone, as if their arrival held the answer to some unspoken question. "That's me," Emma replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She forced a smile, attempting to conceal her inner turmoil as she tried to assess the newcomer. "I'm Julian," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "I own the hotel down the street." His eyes twinkled with a mixture of curiosity and interest. "I've heard quite a bit about the diner. It's become a legend in its own right." Emma shook his hand, the warmth of his grip igniting a flicker of determination within her. Yet, questions tumbled through her mind like marbles rolling across a table. "What brings you here today?" she asked, unable to hide her interest. "I've been searching for innovative experiences to offer my guests," Julian said, his voice smooth as chilled silk. "I've seen what the diner brings to the community, and truthfully, I'm fascinated by your vision. I want to know more about your ideas." Emma's heart beat louder, each thudding pulse amplifying her resolve. Here was an opportunity to share her ambitious plans, perhaps even forge a partnership that aligned with her ethos. "I was just discussing some concepts for the diner: events, seasonal menus, immersive storytelling to connect with the patrons deeper," she explained, her enthusiasm bubbling to the surface. Mark and Alex watched, expressions a mixture of disbelief and intrigue at how swiftly Emma had grabbed this moment and propelled her vision into the spotlight. "I like that," Julian replied, nodding thoughtfully. "It sounds vibrant. But I want to hear it all. How would you execute these ideas?" Emma seized the moment, her thoughts racing into a structured presentation. "I can research local artists, incorporate pop-up events, and develop a phased approach to revamping the menu. It's about fostering relationships not just with customers but with artists, local suppliers, and the broader community." She could feel the momentum building. "Using my background in customer engagement, I can create events that will draw people in, enticing them to stay and connect." As she spoke, she noticed Alex's critical posturing gradually relaxing. While he still wore an expression of judgment, the slightest hint of curiosity colored his gaze. Even Mark leaned in slightly, interest piqued by Julian's unwavering attention. "Emma, it sounds like you've done your homework," Julian said, a smile creeping onto his lips. "I can't deny I'm intrigued. The hotel business has shifted towards unique guest experiences, and I believe your diner could play a pivotal role in that." A surge of adrenaline coursed through Emma, wrapping her in a bubble of possibility. This was not just about saving the diner, it was a potential alliance that could elevate her vision far beyond what she had initially envisioned. "I'm really convinced about this approach," Emma said, her voice finding strength in newfound conviction. "If we collaborate, I can take the diner's legacy and evolve it into something redefining and sustainable." As they bantered about details and logistics, Emma felt a striking realization settle within her: she was no longer the hesitant entrepreneur desperately seeking validation. Here she stood, asserting her vision with clarity and purpose, an active player in her narrative. However, the exhilarating spark was laced with an underlying tension that couldn't be ignored. Julian's keen interest could just as easily morph into a partnership that overshadowed her original goals. Would this be a union of equals, or would his resources drown her in an era defined more by his vision than hers? As the conversation continued, Emma's thoughts raced. She needed to tread carefully. This could either open doors or lead her down a path that obliterated her autonomy. In a quiet moment, Emma caught Julian's gaze, sensing the weight of his expectations. The stakes had never felt higher. If she made a misstep, she could lose not just her vision but her hard-won sense of self. "Let's set a meeting," Julian suggested, his enthusiasm battling against the gravity of the situation. "I'd like to hear more about your strategies and explore how we could work together." Emma's response was caught in her throat. Would she prioritize what was right for her vision or consider the potential to grow from this partnership? The way forward seemed lined with enticing propositions, but it also threatened the essence of who she aspired to become. As she nodded, preparing to engage further, the weight of her choices loomed larger than ever. Would she opt for the safety of collaboration or face the risk of charting her own course once more? With the two men looking on, Emma realized the biggest challenge wouldn't be the external forces surrounding her. It was going to be the internal negotiation between aspirations and compromises, honor and ambition. The moment felt pivotal, a point of no return. The potential to ignite her venture was at her fingertips, yet so were the doubts that had long lingered. Emma steeled herself for the decisions ahead, aware that this was only the beginning of a conflict larger than she had ever anticipated. In the silence that stretched between them, Emma felt a chill dance down her spine. She was about to step into a maze of potential that came with its own traps. Would she find her way to the heart of her vision, or get lost in someone else's shadow once again? As Emma stepped back into her routine after that pivotal conversation, the diner felt both familiar and foreign. The clatter of dishes and the hum of voices enveloped her like an old coat, yet now it wore heavier, no longer the safe sanctuary she had always known. Each familiar face was a reminder of the life and dreams she had crafted. Only now, the looming prospect of partnership with Julian cast long shadows over her ambitions. She resumed serving coffee with practiced ease, slipping into her rhythm. But today, the brewing tension of the upcoming meeting consumed her thoughts. Each sip of the rich, dark coffee felt like an echo of the discussions she'd had, the promise of latter collaborations, but also the threat of losing control over her vision. "Everything okay, Em?" Mark asked, raising an eyebrow as he watched her lost in thought, his voice cutting through her mental fog. "Yeah, just thinking about the future," she said, managing a tight smile, but the flicker of doubt remained in her eyes. Mark leaned forward, his expression shifting from casual concern to genuine interest. "You mean with Julian? I saw you talking to him. You were on fire." Emma felt a flush of warmth at his praise but quickly pushed it aside, unsure how to articulate the mix of excitement and trepidation brewing in her gut. It's just there's a lot at stake. He seems so sure of himself, and what if I agree to something that takes me off course? Hey, Mark said gently, you're the one with the vision. Just remember what you want. Collaborate but don't compromise on what makes your diner special. His words resonated, reminding her of the dream that had fueled her efforts all along. The evening began its slow descent, the diner's atmosphere thickening with the arrival of regulars seeking comforts and small talk. Emma moved through the crowd, engaging with each customer, but her mind was a whirlpool of strategies. How could she express her ideas without losing the essence of her voice? Later that night, she sat in her small office, the dim light casting long shadows across her notes and sketches. She allowed herself to pour out ideas onto paper, innovative menus, inviting artworks from local creators, immersive storytelling sessions. Each concept flowed, highlighted by the authenticity she cherished so deeply. Suddenly, her phone chimed, a message from Julian scheduling their meeting for the following evening. A mix of anxiety and anticipation washed over her. What if he loved her ideas but wanted too much control? Or worse, what if he didn't understand her vision at all? She had to prepare. She couldn't be just a passive participant in the discussion. The urge to backtrack tugged at her, the familiar route of safety tempting. Yet, embracing discomfort was part of growth. She reminded herself of the evening's earlier conversation with Mark. This was her opportunity to weave the narrative of her diner into the wider thread of the community, but it hinged on maintaining her integrity. With renewed determination, Emma studied her notes. A new fear crystallized within her. What if her ambition made her blind to potential pitfalls? What sacrifices would she be willing to make for growth? Was there a line she couldn't cross? As she prepared, fragments of doubt mingled with longing. The idea of collaboration felt like both a bridge and a chasm. It could elevate her dreams or drown them in the weight of expectation. Finally, her trepidation materialized into clarity. She would enter the meeting unyielding but open, ready to negotiate, assiduously mindful of her principles. As she closed her notebook, the day's uncertainties began to settle, pinpointing her resolve to stay true to herself. She defaced Julian on her terms. But as Emma turned off the light, trouble lingered in a persistent thought. If this path opened more doors than she could handle, would she still end up where she wanted to be, or would she wander into a labyrinth of Julian's ambitions, losing her own way? The chill returned, reminding her that clarity often appeared alongside shadows. In that moment, she understood that what awaited her tomorrow was not just a partnership but a test of her essence. And at the heart of it all lay the question she feared to confront: was she ready to fight for her vision, even if it meant standing alone? The morning sun streamed through the diner's windows, casting stripes of golden light across the checkered floors. Emma stood behind the counter, the familiar sense of brewing coffee and hotcakes enveloping her like a comforting embrace. Yet, today was different. Today, she was preparing to meet Julian, the hotel owner whose interest had reignited her dreams. Instead of the usual flutter of nerves, a newfound determination coursed through her veins. As she filled the coffee pots and wiped down the counters, Emma reflected on the steps that had led her to this moment. She had transformed from a weary waitress into a passionate leader, confronting not only the struggles of managing the diner but engaging in complex negotiations with formidable allies. Her heart swelled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had fought through doubt, emerging stronger, and was ready to take a stand for her vision. The bell above the door chimed, signaling Julian's arrival. He walked in with a charismatic confidence, his tailored suit accentuating the air of authority he exuded. Emma's pulse quickened, but instead of apprehension, she felt a rush of exhilaration. This was her moment to share her dream. "Good morning, Emma," Julian greeted, his smile warm and inviting. "I'm eager to hear more about your ideas." "Thank you for coming, Julian," Emma replied, meeting his gaze firmly. "I've been thinking a lot about how we could partner to elevate the diner while preserving its charm." They sat down at a corner booth, sunlight illuminating their features as discussions unfolded. Emma laid out her ideas, carefully detailing her vision for immersive experiences, menu innovations that changed with the seasons, local collaborations, and unique events that would weave the community into the fabric of the diner's identity. She could see the glimmer of interest in Julian's eyes as she spoke passionately, feeling the conviction swell within her. As the conversation deepened, a sense of empowerment surged through Emma. She was not merely presenting ideas, she was asserting her dreams and laying the groundwork for a partnership grounded in mutual respect. Every word she articulated was laced with an energy that drew Julian in, and she reveled in it. "Your ideas have the potential to redefine this place," Julian acknowledged, leaning closer, his tone genuine. "I want to help you make this vision a reality." Emma's heart soared. The vision she had fought to build was now being embraced, not just by an ally but a partner. Confidence replaced her earlier reservations, this was her opportunity to shape their collaboration. Yet, as they discussed logistics, Emma noticed subtle shifts in Julian's inquiry. Occasionally, he posed questions that leaned toward control, as if attempting to steer the diner's future. "What if we amend the diner's atmosphere to align more with hotel standards?" he suggested. Emma felt tension creep back in, echoing the fears that had once gripped her. "I appreciate your insights, but it's crucial we maintain the diner's essence," she countered gently but firmly. "If we change too much, we risk alienating our loyal patrons." Julian nodded, respecting her opinion, yet Emma sensed he viewed her hesitation as a challenge. "We will need to balance authenticity with modern expectations," he said. His unwavering ambition sparked a flicker of doubt, making Emma question how far she could bend without breaking. As the discussion continued, Emma drew the line in the sand. "I want to create a partnership, but I will not compromise on the heart of the diner," she stated, her voice steady and unwavering. "This place resonates with the community, a nexus of connection. If we can't integrate growth with authenticity, it won't succeed." In that moment, Emma's vision crystallized, embodying her complete transformation. She wasn't just someone piecing together a plan, she was a leader standing firm in her beliefs. Julian's respectful concession came as relief, validating her own worth. With their goals aligned, optimism surged through the diner, a shared energy rippling between them. As they finalized plans for a community launch event, Emma's confidence solidified. Their collaborative future seemed vibrant, pulsating with potential. With the meeting concluding in enthusiasm, Julian's excitement was palpable. Emma felt the warmth of accomplishment spread within her. She had navigated the complexities of partnership, staying true to her identity while inviting newfound support. Leaving the diner, the glow of the sun highlighted her brighter path ahead. Emma could envision the diner she longed to create, one that didn't just serve food but fostered connections, community, and love. No longer shackled by fear or doubt, she had stepped into her power, proving to herself that resilience transformed dreams into reality. The tangible sense of fulfillment that enveloped Emma as she walked away indicated she was ready for anything, both the challenges ahead and the successes waiting to unfold. This wasn't just a new chapter in her story, it was the prologue to a legacy of her own design. Emma turned her gaze toward the horizon, a warm smile gracing her lips as she felt the world open up for the first time. Her journey was just beginning, but she knew whatever lay ahead, she would navigate it with the same passion that ignited her vision. Today, she stood not only as a waitress but as an architect of her future. Now is time for you to make a move. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, your support makes all the difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending, we want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, they're counting on you. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.